Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the December briefing session. Kaya Marman, Kaya Yoga, Kaya Bridie, Yana Nook, Nalak Kadij Winji Alak Nini, Nalak Kadij Nija Buja Bao, Wajak Nunga Buja Nalak Nini, Kura Nijie Burawan. The town of Bassendean acknowledges the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation as the traditional custodians of this land. We pay our respects to elders past and present and acknowledge their continuing culture and the contribution they make to the region. I would remind everyone that this meeting is live streamed and will be recorded, and the recording will be uploaded to the website as soon as practicable. Councillors, I would like to ask if all have signed the Declaration of Civic Duty and Responsibility. I'll just read out for the benefit of the audience and those listening in what the councillors sign at the beginning of these meetings. I make this declaration in good faith and declare that I will duly, faithfully, honestly and with integrity fulfil the duties of my office for all the people in the town of Bassendean according to the best of my judgment and ability. So, attendances and apologies. Tonight we have two apologies, Councillor Paul Polifka, the Deputy Mayor, and Councillor Talon Ames. Mr CEO, there are no other apologies that we're aware of? Okay. Councillors, I would ask if there are any declarations of interest on any item on the agenda. Councillor John?
On the Bassendean Oval, I am an impartial interest as I have a membership with the club.
Okay, thank you very much. Just to explain again to the audience benefit, an impartiality interest means that a councillor is declaring the interest, however can participate in questions and decision making on such an item. Announcements by the Mayor. I have one announcement for tonight. All of us at the town of Bassendean joined the community in mourning the loss of musician Guy Gauss AM, who passed away surrounded by his family on November 21st. Born in Perth in January 1969, just 10 days after his parents arrived in Australia on a cargo ship, Guy's story is one of humility, determination and extraordinary talent. He bought his first guitar at the age of 14, inspired by his musical hero, Hank Marvin, beginning a journey that would leave a remarkable imprint on West Australian cultural landscape. Guy's long-standing artistic partnership with Gina Williams created a powerful musical legacy that resonated across the state and far beyond. Renowned for his compositions and his dedication to nurturing young talent, he shared his gift with thousands of children throughout Western Australia. Together, Guy and Gina were honoured 6 times as Indigenous Act of the Year at the WA Music Industry Awards, testament to the impact of their work and the spirit they brought to every performance. In September, Guy was awarded the title of Member of the Order of Australia by Governor Chris Dawson, surrounded by close family and friends, an honour befitting a man who gave so much to his craft and his community. Guy Gauss was an extraordinary musical force who shared not only his talent but also his kindness, generosity and deep humanity. His music touched hearts, transcended words and spoke to people in ways only true artistry can. Where words fail, music speaks. And through his music, Guy was a brilliant communicator. Talent like his can never be forgotten. Commiserations and condolences to Guy's family and to Gina. Thank you. At this point in time, we will go to statement time. Statements at a council briefing session must relate to an item on the OCM agenda being considered. Statements must be directed to myself as presiding person and are limited to 2 minutes. I would ask that if you have a statement to give, that you raise your hand and come to the microphone and provide your statement. Would anyone in the audience like to provide a statement? No? A statement is, would you like to provide a 2-minute statement? You can.
I've got nothing written because we weren't clear like that and we didn't know. So
Okay. I am still allowing a statement. If you'd like to make a statement, I will allow you to make a statement, and you can come to the microphone and make a statement. Okay, that's fine, ma'am. You don't have to make a statement.
I was here to say something, but it's just too hard at the moment. It's just very stressful.
Okay. Is there a chair at the end where that microphone is? Yes, okay. Ma'am, I'll offer you one more opportunity if you'd like to make a statement. You're more than welcome to come and speak from the heart in the microphone there. Okay. And can someone ensure that the microphone is turned on? Okay. And if you could please commence with your name and address and then provide your statement. Can we press the timer?
Hi, my name's Cecilia Bova, 74 Ivanhoe Street, Bassendean. As you know, I've been trying for the salon on wheels from home to be able to work a few hours when I can necessary to work from home. Just want to know that this has been very stressful, the process, everything that I've gone through. Anyway, I just want to put it out there that clients that live next door, they walk to me. They need an area that they can walk to. Some of their places, which I've stated in my previous statements, is I can't physically drive into some people's driveways because the van doesn't fit for these elderly or normal people that can't get to me. That's why I work from home. I work from home to cater for all needs. Yes, it's mobile, but mobile means I did it like that, so I had the opportunity to do both. And because of some complaints of cars, which I've corrected, I've changed all my work, my hours to suit everything to please everyone. I apologise to everyone that at the beginning there was the parking wasn't sorted, and I didn't know. I've done the right thing by everyone. I tried to do everything the right way, and I'm just asking to see the light about, allowing me to work from home when necessary, especially with weather, when it's really hot. I mean, I was working with clients at their homes, elderly, but lucky I had a generator, so I was able to work with the generator at their homes, but they had no power points outside, these elderly people, so they can still drive to me. But, and anyway, just an example that I've got a carport that I can use for weather purposes, and that allowing the neighbours that are next to me that they can walk to my salon, my salon. I didn't know it was going to be such an issue to work from home. Would have made any difference if I had a room at the back, but the mobile was to be able to do both, just to have the facility to do both. I didn't know it was going to be a problem if I knew that.
So thank you, Cecilia, for that. Just for the benefit of those listening, this is in relation to item 12.2, home business hairdressing, Ivanhoe Street, Bassendean. So thank you very much, Cecilia. So we'll now move on to item 5.2, which is question time. Questions at a council briefing session must relate to an item on the OCM agenda that's been considered. As per the council briefing session policy, participants are to direct their questions to myself as the presiding person. If anyone in the audience would like to ask a question, please raise your hand. No? Okay. Mr. CEO, I don't believe there's any deputations? No, okay. And this will then take us on to the reports. And the reports, the first one will be 12.2, which is 74 Ivanhoe Street, Bassendean. And I would ask the officer to provide a summary on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So before I give an overview in terms of the application itself, I thought it'd be worthwhile talking about what a Section 31 reconsideration is, and just be brief. So a Section 31 reconsideration is when the State Administrative Tribunal, or the SAT, asks a local government to reconsider its decision. Usually happens when the applicant has changed their proposal in a way that might address the original reasons for refusal. In simple terms, the SAT has said, take another look at this because circumstances have changed. In terms of the application itself, I'll just run through a quick background to familiarise council with that. I'll talk through the reasons for the original refusal, and then I'll talk through what has changed and then summarise that and take questions. So this home business matter began after some complaints around noise, visibility and general impact of the operations of the home business in late 2024, earlier this year. We understand the business began operating in the summer of 2024. An application was lodged in early 2025 and went to council in July of this year. When the matter went to the SAT, the operator was required to stop trading as part of the usual SAT process. The SAT later allowed the operator to resume the business on a limited basis while the appeal was underway. Since restarting those operations, the town has not received any complaints of the business, and the scale and tone of the business has been notably lower. In terms of the reasons for the original refusal, in July of 2025 was essentially based on three grounds. Scale and intensity, so that was customer activity and visibility went beyond what was reasonable in a residential setting. 2, amenity impacts, which was the after-hour operations and open door on the van, creating noise and a visual presence that affected neighbours. And then the third was in relation to the management plan. At the time, the operator refused some of those controls we were suggesting, such as limiting customers, closing the van doors, and staff were not able to find a workable way to manage the impacts. So what has changed since the SAT review? Well, the revised proposal now includes a clearer, more structured management plan that sets defined hours of operation, and including the maximum numbers of customers per day. These controls naturally limit the scale of the activity to that of a low-impact, low-scale land use consistent with the intent of local planning policy number 17. The applicant, and I will add the applicants themselves, acknowledged that when the business first began, and I think Cecilia mentioned it, it was a bit chaotic, but it's now clear that through the operations, the operator has a bit of a firmer handle on the amenity impacts with improved processes and a more cooperative approach with council. Combined with the reduced concerns during the SAT permitted operation of the hairdressing van, along with improved processes, if I may begin that again, it's now clear the operator has a much clearer and firmer handle on the operations with improved processes and a more cooperative approach with council. The time-limited approval recommended by staff provides the landowner an opportunity to demonstrate their business practices will not unreasonably impact the amenity of nearby residents. It also gives council the ability to monitor operations and in 12 months' time consider whether the operator has consistently complied with the conditions and can continue to operate. Given the modified operations, the reduced level of complaints during the most recent SAT-directed renewal of operations and the more cooperative approach from the operator, town staff now recommend approval subject to conditions, including that time-limited approval, so the town can monitor how well the new arrangements protect residential amenity. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, I'll open it up to questions. Councillor John.
Thank you for that explanation. With the approval for 12 months, if it were all good at the end of that 12 months and it was requested to continue, what would a further approval look like? Would it be indefinite? Would it be?
Through the chair, that would be up at time of the assessment. We can consider it an indefinite land use approval, an additional 12 months. That would be depending on how the business is operated up until that point.
Councillor Carter.
Thank you for that. In looking at the changes in the management plan, the hours are still 8 to 5, which are 9 hours a day. It doesn't have the extended hours in one of the nights, but it's still 9 hours a day for 6 days a week. And the rest of the rest of the conditions are the same, apart from there'll be no carers waiting adjacent to the mobile van. And it says all carers, guardians remain in their vehicles while waiting for the clients to finish. What happens if it's a really hot day? You wouldn't expect elderly people to be sitting in a car in a 40-degree heat in a car park. What is the reality is, and I'm sure the proprietor would not want her clients to be uncomfortable, that they will have to provide some way for the waiting clients to be cool. The appointment times are 15 minutes apart, which is a short time for hairdressing. Trust me, I know, for hairdressing appointments. So you can look up to 10 a day. I'm not sure that would happen, but 10 a day, that's 60 a week if you were operating at maximum capacity. Am I right?
Through the chair, I'd have to check your maths, but that sounds about right. I think if you look at those the operational parameters in isolation, it may seem like a lot, but I guess in my preamble, what I was trying to get at was you've got the maximum of 10 per day, coupled with a reduced hours of operation. I do take your point, and this was just on the Thursday. I do take your point regarding the consistency around that. However, our local planning policy does permit up to those hours. It's really past that 5 p.m. mark that is of concern according to that policy. So while there is a potential for, as you say, 60 clients a week as maximum, that would be as an absolute worst case scenario. I would also perhaps add that the applicant has provided the requisite number of car parking bays, which is 4, which is an additional 2, which should be able to accommodate those additional clients on site for each appointment.
Councillor Carter?
Thank you. With that means if you are allowing the 8 to 5, is it likely people will come at 8 because most hairdressing salons don't open till 8:30 or 9 o'clock? 8 is unusual. And if it does happen, that's a 54-hour week.
Through the chair, is there a question associated with that? Sorry.
Yep. So it needs to be a question.
Oh, the question is 54 hours a week a reasonable expectation? Is there any way of varying these times so that it finishes much earlier? I don't know. 8 to 5 is what's put in. So any time within that period, the the service can be available. Is that right?
Yeah, and I think that these parameters are put in place because to give the business operator the flexibility in creating appointments around those times. So it may not be that each day looks the same. As I understand, there are different requirements for different clients for the application at hand. But in theory, those hours would apply, but they would be restricted by those maximum client numbers and the 2 at a time, as well as the car parking arrangements on site.
Okay. Councillors, I just want to ask a question. I note on page 16 of the report the graph that gives the hours of operation Monday to Friday 8 till 5, Monday to Saturday 8 till 5. But I also note that in the conditions that the officer has drafted, point C says the home business is not permitted to operate on public holidays, which is fine, but I'm wondering whether /Sundays should be included in there to clearly articulate that there's not to be any trading on Sundays.
Through the chair, that is up to council if that was a modification to those conditions of approval. If council.
Well, the only reason I ask is because it's clear that Monday to Saturday trading is proposed by the administration on page 16, and I just wanted to make sure that that is articulated clearly in the officer's conditions. But yeah, that's something that we can, I can email you afterwards about that. Councillors, are there further questions on this item? Can I just ask, with the noise that was originally an issue, and I think the noise was what originally brought this item to the attention of the council. The parking of the vehicle with the doors open on the north side, sliding doors facing north, how does that change the noise aspect? Because that's where the vehicle was last time.
Through the chair. So the vehicle, the van is proposed to be parked on the southern car parking bay with doors opening to the north.
Yeah.
In terms of noise, my comment around that is noise for the operations of the business doesn't look the same day by day, client by client. We are typically taking our cues from, in this instance, the operations of the business since that SAT approval to effectively recommence operations in late August had occurred. So I guess we're using the real world examples that the lack of complaints and the lack of concerns around noise, indicate to us that won't be as problematic.
Okay.
In my July address to council, I was speaking through the three areas of concern, and I think, or at least I hope to articulate that the opening of and closing of the van doors is probably the tertiary, the least of importance in terms of neighbour amenity. We would more often gauge it on the level of feedback that we get from neighbours and the level of complaints that we've had, and that's kind of where we've kind of come to that conclusion in my original address there.
Okay, so my understanding is that there has been a change in behaviours because one of the original issues relating to noise was music being played and coming from the vehicle. Is that correct? And that's been changed, that behaviour?
Through the chair, I might have to take that one on notice.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Councillors, further questions? No? Okay, we'll move on then. Okay, so the next item is 12.3, appointment of councillor representatives to the Bassendean Oval Redevelopment Project Steering Committee. Thank you, Ms Brenner.
Good evening, Mayor and councillors. This, I think, is hopefully a fairly straightforward item. It basically initiates stage 2 of the Bassendean Oval project with the request for council to consider up to 3 councillors to participate in the steering committee / project control group. I say that because the terminology is a little interchangeable. The requirement to have a steering committee / project control group is probably twofold. One, we certainly had that governance arrangement in place for stage 1, but also with the financial assistance agreement from state government, there's actually a requirement to have a project control group and to have that documentation presented as one of the initial documents before we receive funding, our first funding instalment, hence it coming to council this evening for questions and then endorsement next week. Happy to take any questions.
Councillors? Okay. No questions, thank you. The next item is Council Plan Quarterly Report, July to September 25. So, Mr CEO.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If I may indulge council, I'll stay seated for this item here. The purpose of this report is for council to consider the council plan quarterly report for the period ending 30th September 2025. So it's for the first quarter of 25-26. The reason it seems to be quite late is we had that period in September where we didn't meet for the elections, and then given the volume of reports in November, we decided to move this report to this month to allow November's more important business to be dealt with, noting that this report deals with what has happened in the past, not affecting what's going forward into the future. The table on page 27 outlines a status report, so there's quite clearly in that quarter we completed 5, 27 targets remain on track. There's nothing at the moment being reviewed or monitored. There's 7 that are not started, and there's 0 off track at this stage. As at September 25, there's a total of 86 actions identified in the 4-year council plan. 32 have been completed, 41 are on track. That represents 73 projects, or 85% of the total projects in the 4-year council plan. So I'm pleased to announce that we're tracking very well. There will be a new Q2. The administration has just finished updating that, and that'll come through to the February council meeting. If there are specific questions around individual actions, I'm happy to try and address those tonight with the staff present. Otherwise, we can take those on notice and provide a more comprehensive answer prior to next week's OCM. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, questions on these items? If there are specific questions, as the CEO has indicated, could you please email those questions ASAP if there's specific questions about particular projects? Okay, councillors, we'll now go on to 12.5, which is the Audit and Governance Committee meeting, which there's nothing to report there at the moment, because that meeting is actually tomorrow.
And your chair.
Yes. Okay. So we'll move on to 12.6, which is the annual report. Mr. CEO?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. And again, this particular item is linked to the previous item with the Audit and Governance Committee, particularly around the audited annual financial statements. The purpose of this report is to consider and accept the draft Town of Bassendean annual report for 24-25, including the audited annual financial statements for the year ending 30th of June. And we also confirmed the date for the 2026 general meeting of electors. This is a normal process. It happens every year. What I would say is that the staff, the administration, have done an extensive communication internally to present what is a very comprehensive report with the key information as required by the Act, but also, more importantly, about telling some of the good news stories about the actions and the projects that we've undertaken during that 12-month period. And for those councillors that haven't had a chance to have a comprehensive read yet, I would encourage them to do so, because it is quite a good news story and a good read in its own right. So once accepted by council, I'll give public notice, and then the annual report will be voted on at the annual electors meeting by the annual electors, which is going to be the Tuesday, the 3rd of February, subject to council adopting this next week. Obviously, if it doesn't get adopted for whatever reason, then we can't meet our minimum 56 days requirements. Just in closing, I'd like to acknowledge all the staff in the preparation of our annual report. I think the documents have improved year on year, and it's a good historical representation of what we've achieved over the last 12 months. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. I would agree with your statements there. Councillors, are there any questions on this particular item? No? Okay, we'll move to 12.7, which is Policy Review, Employee Code of Conduct.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That'll be me again. So this particular policy review really deals with one element of an existing policy. So the policy it refers to is the Code of Conduct, but we've really only addressed Section 5 within that policy, which is the disclosure of gifts and notifiable gifts and travel contributions. The reason for that, it was actually causing some concerns within the administration, and there were some concerns about what was and is a notifiable gift and what amount should be realised. So after much workshopping back and forth and a couple of all staff meetings, and I think the best thing about this particular change in policy is if councillors have a chance to read page 271 of the attachments, there is a really comprehensive flowchart which outlines how an employee should respond to when they are offered a gift from the members of the community or the public, or if it's from an affiliated person. And the flowchart really takes them through a process to make sure that they can comply with the legislation around what is a notifiable gift. Happy to take any questions at any time.
Councillors, questions? No? Okay. So we move on to 12.8, accounts paid. Now, standard practice here is to provide questions on this one to our Director of Corporate Services, but we're going to get a overview anyway. No?
I think, Madam Mayor, Amanda may be present for 12.9.
Okay.
Functional, which
Okay.
it's unusual that we have our accounts this early, so thank you very much for having the accounts this early, Amanda.
Yep. So, as I was saying, councillors, for the accounts paid, because there's so many, if you do have any questions on that particular item, if I could get you to email those questions together with the actual identifying number of the payment, that will make life very easy for the staff to actually provide you with a response. Now, we'll move on to 12.9, which is the monthly financial report. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you, Mayor, CEO, executives and councillors. I'll take you briefly through the town's financial performance for the month. The town remains in a stable financial position, with operating results generally tracking close to budget. Most variances are explained by timing, particularly in capital, works and grants receipts. Operating revenue is slightly ahead of budget, largely due to higher childcare subsidy income and stronger development application fees and favourable interest earnings from cash investments. Nothing of concern. These variances reflect real activity and market conditions. Your operating expenditure, employee costs continue to track within budget. Materials and contracts are under budget, mostly due to timing and scheduled maintenance on infrastructure assets. Utility charges are also under budget, again timing of invoices. Your capital works continue to show a timing variance with actual spend lower than budget at this point of the year. Commitments, purchase orders are in place, meaning spend will increase across the next quarter as projects progress. Grants, non-operating grants are slightly lower than budget due to the timing of road project funding receipts. There's no risk, funding agreements remain current. Cash investments and liquidity. The town holds a strong cash position of around 28 million, including reserve balances. Investment returns continue to benefit from the higher interest rate environment. Rate collections. Rate collections remains healthy at approximately 67 to 68% as at the 30th of November. This aligns with historical trends for this time of year. My recommendation is Council is asked to receive this report, note the explanations of variances and endorse the budget amendments as presented.
Thank you very much. Councillors, any questions on this particular report? And I am very grateful that this is provided at the briefing. Thank you very much. No questions, councillors? We'll move on to 12.10, which is the RFT for Sandy Beach Foreshore Restoration Plan. And Mr. Shane Asmus, as the Infrastructure Director, will provide a summary on that particular item.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, councillors and all. So the purpose of this report, as Mayor Hamilton mentioned, is an RFT is for council, was to seek council approval for the to appoint the contractor to complete the restoration works at Sandy Beach Foreshore. Just a reminder that this project is part of the Ashfield Flats Master Plan, which is fully funded by the federal government under the Urban Rivers Catchment Program. I guess the report has the detail in there, but the major components of the project is the removal and replacement of the timber wall that's alongside the short jetty, rehabilitation of eroded sections, so basically some earthworks there, some battering, replanting sedges, foreshore stabilisation, some rock nodes. So there's already some rock nodes there, but they'll be upgraded to prevent scour and erosion, and some re-nourishment of the two fantastic beaches. That's all part of the project, and we seek council's approval for the to appoint the contractor. I'll just note also, if I may, that the evaluation report, which is confidential, I don't believe was in the agenda, but will be attached over the next day or so, if that's correct. Dale.
Okay, thank you. Councillors, I'd like to ask a question on that item. Point 2 of the officer's recommendation. Is there a timeline issue in respect to implementation of these foreshore restoration works, given the need for heritage clearances and permits from the Department of Biodiversity, Conservation and Attractions? Do you perceive that there will be timeline issues in implementing this project?
Yeah, thank you, Madam. There are current delays, and not just this project, but a few other projects. But the team, the environmental and sustainable team, have been excellent at trying to get those approvals. So the documentation's all been lodged, and we're just going to keep on, I guess, pushing to get those approvals, bearing in mind that works aren't planned to start until February, March. So we are hopeful, but no guarantees.
So, given it's not unusual to have delays in getting these approvals, is there any actual timeline required? How to put this? The approvals that we're seeking from Department of Biodiversity Conservation and Attractions, is there any timeline where they have to provide a response by a certain time? Because this does seem to be an extended process that goes on, not, as you've said, not just for this project, but multiple projects where our project timelines keep getting pushed out because we haven't got the approvals. So do DBCA themselves have a requirement to provide information by a certain time?
I assume so, Madam Mayor, but I'm happy to get that information. Whether there is those timelines, bearing in mind on this project, DBCA are a major stakeholder and one of our partners. So I suspect, and again, I'll get the exact information, that probably the current delay could be around the heritage, and that's where we need to be focusing on.
Okay, so again, with the heritage, the Indigenous heritage clearances, is there any state mandated timeline when those clearances have to be provided?
I'll get that information, Madam Mayor, and
Okay.
send it through.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Councillors, further questions? No? Okay. Thank you very much, Mr Asmus. The next items on the agenda are the two notices of motion that I have proposed. I believe that you have copies of those in front of you. If you would like to ask questions on those, bearing in mind that the administration have not yet had the time to provide an administrative response.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to clarify, there is a response provided late this afternoon. That's why we've printed them out for the table, so hopefully you will have a copy. In relation to notice motion 1, the officer's comment is in green text underneath each question to make it much easier for council to read, and then there's a final summary at the end. In relation to number 2, there is also a response this afternoon on a separate piece of paper relating to tree canopies over the page.
Mr CEO, in respect to motion 2, I note requires further clarification to narrow the scope and provide clearer direction. If I provide that in the next day, would that be suitable to you?
Yes, that'd be great. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Councillors, are there further questions on any of these items? No? Okay. Councillors, this brings us to matters for which the meeting may be closed. So we have one confidential item, special projects. So I'd ask for the meeting to be closed to the public. 6:55 p.m. Okay. I have no idea where I am. Thank you. Okay. I'll declare this meeting closed at 6:55. The next briefing session will be held on Tuesday, the 17th of February, 2026, commencing at 6 p.m. The ordinary council meeting will be held next Tuesday, the 16th, I think, commencing at 6 p.m. Thank you, one and all.